Hello, everybody. This is episode number 10 of our Money Body Goals podcast. My name is Dalton DeCastro.
And I'm Ryan DeCastro.
And I am a personal trainer and coach.
And I'm a financial planner and a wealth coach.
And we are very excited to give you our 10th episode. So this is going to be a good one.
It's a big milestone.
Yep.
It's awesome.
I know. We did it. 10 episodes deep.
I feel like we're excited about every episode we film.
Yeah.
Just because it's still new and it's not always easy just putting yourself out there. But for us to just keep, showing up and making content for people.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's a chore or it doesn't feel like it's a job. It kind of just feels like, oh, another day.
Well, I look forward to them.
No, that's what I mean. Like, that's how I treat it. It's like, it's another episode.
Yeah.
I enjoy making these.
So start of a new month. It's May 1st. Go Sens go.
It's gonna be May.
People see this on Sunday, so you'll know the outcome of the Sens game. I'm going tonight. I really hope they win. And then hopefully they make it to Game 7. That'll be on Saturday. So people will know whether the Leafs took the W or not.
Yeah, really.
Leafs fans were pretty confident at first, but now it's anyone's game.
This is actually a sports podcast now.
I'm totally converted to becoming a Sens fan since we moved up. Well, I moved to Ottawa and just my colleagues, they're big into the Sens stuff. So
yeah, and you've gone to multiple games now.
Yeah.
So I'd hope you'd become a Sens fan.
They'd kick me out of our firm if I wasn't.
Show up to work in the Leafs jersey.
I almost wore the jersey to film this episode in, but I thought that would be a bit much.
No, we know what happens when you wear the jersey.
So anyways, today I think we'll just see where the conversation takes us.
Okay.
Wherever the wind blows.
Wherever the wind blows, sure.
But I wanted to talk about, lately I've been really into audiobooks. And I was the biggest hater at first because still my number one preference is like reading a physical book and just being able to hold it and read the pages and hear it in my own voice. I feel like I get so much more out of the story, but I love the fact that I can continue what I'm reading when I'm in the car, on a walk, or on the treadmill at the gym. When I'm really into a book, like all I want to do is read it. So it's hard to be productive.
Yeah.
But now that I can kind of continue with whatever I'm doing and listen at the same time, it's been nice.
Hopefully the characters' narrations are good.
Yeah, they're usually not. So that does definitely hinder like the story for me, I guess, which is why I prefer the hard copy, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I prefer Braille.
What's the last book you read?
An instruction manual.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not a big reader. I'm more of an anime guy myself. No, actually, that's true. That's the closest thing I've read to a book was
the anime stuff?
An anime manga.
Congrats.
Okay, moving on. Yeah, no, reading is not my thing, but I appreciate everybody who does get into reading. I can see how excited people get into their books, and that's pretty much how I feel whenever I'm into like a really good show. So to each their own, everybody has their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
But books are not mine.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Are you listening to any other podcasts right now?
No, just this one called Money Body Goals. Number one podcast on Spotify and Apple Play.
So speaking of that, that would come off a little bit vain, I would say.
Wow, what a transition. What a transition to this next topic, eh?
So a question I thought of was like, what would you say to someone who thinks you care way too much about how you look? Because that's essentially what bodybuilding is. There is definitely like some vanity metrics to it, and you do have to care about how you look.
You're asking me how I would feel?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the way I would...
Your response to that.
The way I would respond to that would be, number one, my body is my work, right? So as a personal trainer, I treat my body with respect, and I want to make sure that I always look my best and feel my best. So, a lot of people may be opposed to this, but I think that all personal trainers should be in shape and should be a great representation for their clients. So when people see me training clients, they think, wow, like this guy can take care of himself. This guy actually listens to the advice that he probably gives his clients. But if you have somebody who's not in great shape and trying to tell another person what to do with their body and how to live their life in a healthy way, that person may not be able to actually receive that information to be like, well, if you're not doing it, why would I? Right? So number one, most important thing to me is my body. So as vain as it may sound, it is what it is, right? My body is my work. Now, number two, my sport. I compete in bodybuilding now. So I also treat it like work. That's why all my workouts are so serious, because it's like I put in the work to make sure that my body gets the results. So I have to make this one of my biggest priorities. I don't just mess around with it for no reason, right? So that's why staying in great shape and looking a certain way is very important to me. And then number three, my response to that would be, I love myself. Like, I truly, genuinely love myself. I'd even say I'm obsessed with myself. And I think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing, because that's the number one way to just truly and genuinely love yourself, right? If you love what you see every single day, it's going to change the way you feel and how you pretty much go through your day. But if every single day you look in the mirror and you hate yourself, well, what kind of positive message is that sending to your brain? Like, that's just going to give you the most negative results, and you're probably going to look and feel even worse. So people saying, oh, why do you always look at yourself so much, or like, why do you care so much about how you look? And that's my three responses right there. And if you try and tell me and combat any of those three responses, then you're not someone that really needs to be talking to me and having this conversation. Because if you can't understand after those three things, then maybe you need your own mindset shift.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what you said about liking what you see in the mirror, because that's a big motivating factor for me, is I think that life is way too short to be looking in the mirror every day and not liking what you're seeing.
Yeah. A lot of people.
And I'm willing to make the sacrifices so that I do think that I look good. Like, I like what I see in the mirror.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking down on myself and just having negative comments about like what I see in the mirror.
Yeah. The most important thing to each person should be their happiness, right? And if one of the biggest factors of their happiness is what they see in the mirror, then work on it, right? That's going to help you with your mental health. That's going to help you with your physical health.
But then there's people who will say, well, why can't you be happy just accepting your body the way it is? I personally think that those people, like, yes, it's great to accept yourself, but are you using that as an excuse because you can't commit to what you want to commit to?
Yeah, exactly. It depends on your goals.
Yeah.
Of course. But like, from a healthy standpoint, the science shows the more body fat that you have, the less healthy you are. And I'm not talking about someone who has just a little bit of body fat, they got a little pudge. That's fine. I'm talking like if you are like obese, morbidly obese, and then you're going to start telling people, why can't you just love the way that you are? Because I don't want to die earlier.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss out on all the fun things that I could be doing with my kids because I'm so unhealthy. Or even just the way that you look. Like, do you want to show that to your kids and show an example to their kids saying that it's okay to just let go of yourself and not be healthy? Oh, I can't touch my toes. Oh, I can't run after my kid who went down the street because I don't know, something unsafe. I don't know. Like, all of those things that could be better if you were healthier.
I don't have the energy to be able to, like, if we do have kids, like, I want to be outside doing things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be indoors. You know, I'm not raising iPad kids.
Yeah. You don't want to provide.
I want to be able to have the energy to keep up with them. And even going for walks, like, I like the fact that I can go for a walk for an hour and I'm not going to be tired from that. Like, when we travel, we can pretty much walk everywhere that's within walking distance if it's 15, 30 minutes away. It's so nice to have energy throughout your day to be able to do things like that.
And I think people have this misconception thinking that you need to have a six-pack to look good. Like, that's not at all what we're saying. You don't have to be shredded to the gills to look good. You don't have to be full of muscle to look good. But like, if you are very much overweight, then not only is that not super aesthetically pleasing to the eye, maybe even to your own eye, but just from, like I said, a health standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, like it is about how you look, but mainly about how you feel.
Yeah. I don't know that many people that are like very much overweight who tell me that they feel amazing every day.
Yeah.
And that they love their life. If you do, awesome. Good for you. I'm so happy for you. But also just get healthier. Like, there's no harm in trying to get a little bit healthier. Right? Have good habits. There's no way you can tell me that you've met someone who's like very, very overweight and their eating is amazing. Like, they eat perfect all the time. That's a straight up lie. That's full of nonsense. Like, I've never met a single person like that. Right? So
yeah,
just there's a lot of things that you can work on. And like I said, you don't have to look a specific way, but at least like hold yourself accountable.
And well, bodybuilding itself is a sport at the end of the day. And a big part of tracking our progress in that sport is being very in tune with how your body looks.
Yeah.
Like I can tell the smallest difference in my muscle composition by looking in the mirror. So it's really not about like, I don't care about what other people think of me to a degree. Like to a small degree, yes, but it's more about just the way I think about myself.
Bodybuilding is one of the most harsh sports in the terms of mental health, I think, because if you look at it from this perspective, you work your ass off to look as best as you can, to step onto a stage, to be told that you don't look good enough. And then you could come last place. Do you know how terrible that must feel for some people? Like you're literally being told, sorry, but you just don't look good enough. And that's just the facts, and that's the sport. So
if you take it that way.
But that's just the facts.
Yeah.
That is literally the facts. Yes, you look good, but you don't look good enough. Right? So that could harm a lot of people's mental health. And that's why there's a lot of people who actually have a lot of body dysmorphia. Like one of the most common things in the sport of bodybuilding is body dysmorphia. People will be shredded and look a little fluffy one day, and they're like, I look obese, I look fat, I look terrible, I'm disgusted, I don't even want to take my shirt off. And to the average human being, that just sounds insane. Right? I've had a conversation with a family member before where I was talking about my coach and how he was in off season and he's a little fluffy. I said the words fluffy. He looks insane. He looks amazing.
Yeah.
But that person was like, are you crazy? What do you mean fluffy?
What are you talking about?
He doesn't look fluffy. I'm like, no, like that's off season look for a lot of people.
Our perception is very different.
Exactly.
But like the point I was trying to make is at the end of the day, it's a sport. And that's just what it takes. So you can compare that to anything else.
Yeah.
That someone else might think is extreme in a different sport. And the ends that they're willing to go to be the best at that sport.
Yeah. Like I don't even want to know what the number one ping pong player in the world has to do to be the best.
Sure.
I'm joking. We don't know his secrets. There must be something. But yeah.
Like it might not be your physical appearance in that case, but there is something that obviously that person cares a lot about that the average person would be like, why do you care so much about that?
Yeah. And I guess that's also training your mentality where you have to truly tell yourself, stop caring about what other people think. You know how long ago I've checked out about other people's opinion about me? Like you have to be like that because social media.
That's probably the hardest part of it.
Yeah, like in social media in general, if someone was to if you ever post a picture and someone commented, you look terrible, do you actually need to care about what that person thinks? Unless that person was one of your biggest idols, and if it was, then that person probably shouldn't be your idol.
No.
But like if that person's opinion was actually valid enough and you look up to them, then sure, you could be a little upset and be like, wow, like that really hurt. But if it's somebody that you wouldn't even want to trade places with.
Yeah.
That said, wow, you look terrible. Why should you ever care? And you apply that to everything.
Yeah.
Like who cares what other people think? Are you happy? Because you clearly made somebody else unhappy based off of the things that you're doing to make yourself happy. That's a problem on them, not on you.
And you can flip that around and say, why does that person care so much about what I'm doing?
Yeah, it's true.
Like at the end of the day, that's their own problem.
Most people that are doing better than you are probably not worrying about what you're doing. Like, I don't think I've ever looked at anybody in the gym that was, it clearly was their first day. And I thought, wow, like you suck. Like you're terrible at what you're doing. Like I would never go up to anybody and be like, dude, just give up. Every time I see a person who's overweight in the gym, I respect them so much. Like I appreciate everything that they're doing because they're trying. They're obviously getting better or trying to get better. And that's the kind of stuff that you want to have in the community. You want people to be like that, where they see them like, oh man, wow, this is awesome. I'm so excited to see this person trying to work better. And then treat that the same way with everybody, where everybody's just in there trying to be better.
Yeah.
Right? But then you have so many people who are just like these terrible human beings that just make fun of other people, and they're like, oh, like you're such a loser, blah, blah. And I heard, the other day, this is kind of off topic, but I heard something happened at work where one of our members got kind of like harassed at the gym. And like just gym bullying, in my opinion, is just not okay.
I just still don't understand how people can still act like that to this day.
They were a bunch of teenagers and they were bullying an older member about, I'm not going to go into so much detail, but like the fact that there are still people that go to the gym that prey on other people and then act out on it physically and like verbally is just insane to me.
Yeah. It's like, what are you doing?
If you guys ever see anything like that in public, please like step in and just make it loud and clear that that's not okay. Because I always hear about these things and I never get an opportunity to be there to like shut it down. But it's really sad because I think the gym is supposed to be a safe place for a lot of people, and some people don't even feel safe going to a gym, which is really sad.
So, you know how I said it's the start of the month. And as you know, I have been tracking our spending and our saving, and we're almost at halfway of our goal. So our goal this year was to basically save up $30,000 of our disposable income. And the reason I picked that number is because every year my goal is to max out our first home savings accounts, which is $8,000 each, as well as our tax-free savings accounts, which would be $7,000 each. So add that up, that adds to 30. But also when I use a future value calculator, if we invest $30,000 a year, that'll get us on track to hit $1 million invested in our 30s.
That's a better number.
Right. At a 10% rate of return. And that should happen in 6 years, potentially. Obviously, anything can happen in the meantime, but that's kind of the overarching goal that I am thinking about all the time when it comes to looking at where our money is going and how much we're saving. That's something that just keeps me like tunnel vision. This is what do I want to accomplish? And yeah. So I don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing how much we have invested up to this point, but that should give you enough details to do the math if you want to work backwards and try and make an educated guess. But I don't feel comfortable like publicly sharing that just because people we don't know could be seeing this, and it's not something I would ever just announce.
All right, guys, take a wild guess in the comments how much money we have, and if the first person to get it right will actually be donated that much money.
Yeah, let's not leave that as a comment. If we do figure it out, feel free to just message me.
Yet. And ask for money politely before disclosing the information publicly.
But anyways, so looking at our savings, we save on average probably around $3,500 a month, which is pretty good. Like, we don't make a lot of income right now. It fluctuates quite a bit. So the main thing for us is just trying to continue to live below our means. And something that I wanted to touch more on was, you know, when you're first getting started, I think a really good target goal is just trying to have $100,000 invested. So luckily I was able to accomplish that when I was in my 20s. And something that number one you need to think of is, okay, what is my risk tolerance? That's something that you should be very clear on and not get so caught up in the small details, like what is the asset mix I should have? What are the fees I'm paying? Like, yes, that's good to know, but those are small details that you don't need to be so analytical about at first. Just focus on your habits with money. So I was lucky when I first got started. Like, my mom did a really good job coaching me on what my risk tolerance should be when I'm starting to invest at such an early age. Because so when I first got started, I went into a bank, just opened up like a tax-free savings account, RSP, with an advisor. And my mom coached me on like, okay, this is money that you're going to set up an automatic deposit into now that you're working. I think I started doing like $400 a month.
How old were you when you were doing all this?
22.
Okay.
And she really coached me on, okay, this money, you don't need to touch this for a long time. You're going to be setting this aside so that it can grow and start working for you. And because you have such a long time horizon, you can be aggressive with this money. Like, don't be looking at how much it's going down or up every day. Literally just focus on your rate of savings and trying to hit that target goal. Because I think people get way too caught up in the smaller details when that's what your biggest focus should be at the start. So do you remember how you started investing? Like, was it with an advisor at the bank, or like, how did you even start?
This was so long ago. I'm pretty sure it was in a bank. It was TD. And I met up with one of the advisors, and it was the same conversation. Like, it was literally the same process that you ran me through.
Okay.
Where we just sat down and she's like, oh, like, how risky do you want to be? I'm like, I don't want to risk anything.
Yeah, so even when I started managing your accounts for you, you were pretty conservative at first. And that's very common with people who are new to investing. Like, if you're someone who's starting out with, let's say, index funds, yes, S&P 500 is a great index fund, but a lot of people don't understand the risk involved and the fluctuations that you will see in the value of your investment if you're putting all your eggs into that basket. So that's a type of fund where it's just tracking what the best companies in the US are doing, for example. And yes, you could have a 20% return, but you could also see your money go down 20%. So are you really comfortable with that much risk?
I think when I first started, regardless if it was with you or with the original banker, I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that I was new to it. I think it has everything to do with the fact that I was not comfortable with the process. Like, I am a creature of habit and I'm a creature of comfort sometimes. So when it comes to money, as long as I know I have money and it's coming in, I like stability, right? So when I'm being asked like, oh, are you worried about like the volatility of it, right? Like, just do you want high risk or low risk? I'm always going to pick low risk before, because I was just comfortable knowing that, okay, I have that money and it's going to be somewhere else and it's safe.
Yeah.
But then once, more so recently, like, as long as I know I have money and I know who's taking care of it and I trust you and I trust how much money we make, I don't really think about it anymore. Like, I don't think about what the risks are, because that's your job.
Yeah.
You take care of it.
And that tells me, okay, yes, you are ready to be in something that's more aggressive, because I know it's not something you're really looking at. And you know how to think like an investor.
Yeah. And I also would rather just you do that. That's your job. That's what you're good at. I don't need to think about and worry about how much money I have in places unless I'm talking about my side money, right? Like, not my savings money. So the savings money, like, that's all you. That's what you're good at.
Like for long-term investments.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people love to hate on actively managed funds, which are just funds that basically an advisor is managing for you. But like I said, don't get too caught up in the rate of return that you're getting or what the fees you're paying are at the start, because that's not going to make or break you. The person who is putting a little bit of money into an account, hoping it makes 20%, great. That person is not going to have more than the person who's actively investing and tracking their spending, having an investment goal that they're working towards. The behavior of how you spend and save your money is so much more important. And if you haven't read the book, Psychology of Money, it's a really good one because it shares like all of these little stories that are all about like how this lady in her old age somehow had like $3 million when she passed away, and she worked at Walmart her whole life. It's because she literally like didn't spend money on any big things and just continued to set aside that money throughout her life.
I'm going to add that book to my list.
It's right on the bookshelf up there. I bought that for all of my clients the first year that I started when I became a financial advisor. So I think it is so valuable. And it's not like other personal finance books that are kind of boring and dry. Like I said, this one has a lot of good stories in it. It's very easily digestible.
And is it sponsored by Walmart as well?
Walmart probably sells it. I don't know. But yeah, my whole point was just understanding your risk tolerance and setting a target amount for a goal is the two things you should be focused on if you're first getting started. Because I'll have clients that we have some actively managed funds in our accounts that make well over 20% in a good year. So don't focus so much on what you're invested in or what rate of return you're getting. It's not the fact that it's mutual funds are bad. It really comes down to what your risk tolerance is. If you're telling your advisor or your robo-advisor that you're not comfortable with, let's say, a 10% loss in your account value, like you're not going to be seeing 20% returns in that case. And that's something that the regulators pay a lot of attention to in the financial industry is your investment portfolio has to match up with your risk tolerance. I'm not going to put you in something that I know you're not going to be comfortable with. Thinking about the downside, thinking about when the markets are rocky, I want to make sure that you're not going to panic and think that you need to pull your money out so that it's safe. People who are aggressive are people who understand how to think like an investor. That's when that's appropriate.
Yeah, they don't panic.
Don't panic when the news likes to make the economy look like the market's crashing, like the world is ending. It's the people who see that as an opportunity to say, you know what, like all the best companies are on sale right now. I'm going to buy into the market and take advantage of this opportunity.
All right. Well, I hope after listening to all of that, you now know how to make $100,000 and save, because I know I do. High risk, baby.
I think when you start approaching that goal, whether it's a larger amount, you see your investments getting up to 100,000, for example, that's when it's a good idea to try and be more strategic and have a better understanding of just the smaller details that I touched on. But before then, really just focus on your behavior with money, because that's going to really help you be successful in the early days of when you're first starting. There's so much to learn that if you feel like you're someone who needs to learn everything about investing before you start, you're never going to start.
Yeah.
So just try to start
Yeah.
and learn as you go.
And I think it's also just like having really good little habits first. There's actually another, I don't remember the name of the podcast, but it's with this guy and he brings people onto his show. I've sent it to you before, of people who are actually in debt. So it's like the opposite of what we're talking about. It's where people who are like severely in debt go onto his show. He breaks down everything about their budget and everything about how much they're making and what they're spending on. And he reams them out. Like he completely trashes on them, but for a good reason, because he's trying to convince them like you are delusional and you don't understand why you're in debt and why you're not going to go anywhere with your finances, because you're screwed for the next 10 years if you don't change your habits. And it's things like that where if you don't even have just the tiniest little good habits, you're not going to be a millionaire.
Yep.
Like I don't know any millionaires who are currently in next level debt.
And think about what you're doing behind the scenes. So don't just focus on investing, but focus on how you can grow your income. Focus on, am I making responsible choices for where I'm spending my money?
Are you even money motivated?
Yeah.
Like there's so many people who are not money motivated. Like they're just comfortable with whatever they're making. Like if they could live for the rest of their life making the same amount of money, even though there's an inflation, and never ask their boss for a raise or never think of ways for them to increase how much they make a year, they won't ever do it. And there's so many people that are like that. It's like constantly think to yourself, how do I increase how much comes into my pockets every single day?
Yeah. And how much you're able to save at the end of the month.
Yeah, people just need to stop spending on stupid things.
I find that a lot of people are so unrealistic about their lifestyles. It's like it doesn't align with their income.
Yeah.
They think that they need a $800,000 house and a nice car in the driveway and all these things that just aren't aligned if you want to be successful when it comes to having like a good amount invested. Someone who tells me they want to have 10,000 saved at the end of the year, but they're spending their money on
I don't even think
other things. It's like that's not aligned with your goal. So just check in with that.
I don't think there's a lot of people that are even just like, and I'm not talking about our inner circle because our inner circle is doing quite great. I'm talking about just people who don't save at all. Like literally like everything that they get paid, it doesn't have a destination. It's like, hey, I have to obviously pay my bills. And then after they pay their bills, like, nice, I have X amount of money that I can use now to just spend on random stuff. Instead of being like, where can I put that money and have it grow somewhere else? Yeah. I don't think a lot of people think like that. And that's just what's going to happen is that they're just not going to have a lot of money saved when they're older. As they're going to get to a point where they're like, okay, I'm now 50 years old and I have nothing.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be in that position, then listen to her advice and just start saving slowly, right? Just build good habits.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to trying to, like, we're all about growth. Reflect on what you're doing in your career. If you're building a new skill, if you're starting a business, there's a lot of ways that you can increase your income. Not necessarily just trying to budget and restrict yourself, but how are you going to try to make more money this year so that you can invest more?
Or even just think of it as, how can I become financially free?
Yeah.
Like have that as your goal, financial freedom.
Yeah, because yes, I want to have $1 million invested, but that's because I want to have options for when we want to retire.
When we want to move to Mexico.
How many trips do you want to take during the year?
How many dogs do we want to have?
There's a lot of government workers in Ottawa. You're going to have a good pension in retirement, but that shouldn't be your only plan for retirement income. If that's your plan to live off of that, like who knows if that's going to be enough? So you probably would have to restrict your lifestyle at some point. If you're reliant on that or selling your house, like that doesn't provide a lot of flexibility for options.
Yeah. Don't forget, a lot of people really love living in comfort. Like as long as they're making a paycheck, as long as there's money for their pension, they don't need the bougie lifestyle, but then they also just don't do a lot of things. Like, oh, I don't know if I can afford that vacation. Do you have any savings? Like, are you making enough to be able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, even if
you gotta enjoy the money that you make.
Even if that's not what you want, at least give yourself the option.
Yeah.
Your pension is all taxable income in retirement. So if that's your only resource or selling your home, why would you want that to be your two options?
Yeah. All in all, do better. I'm joking. We're all working on it. We're all working in the grand scheme of things to be better versions of ourselves. But I think the one thing from my perspective of a non-financial advisor or financial world person is just be money motivated. Like I meet so many people who don't know what the next step is, and they don't even think of taking advantage of opportunities. Like when I've been working at my company, like I'm always thinking of different ways to try and have more income, but like without burning myself out, right? How do I work less and make more? That should be the ultimate outcome, because as a personal trainer, you get paid per hour with a client. So if you have to work 12-hour days to be able to make the minimum, or tell yourself that you're making a lot of money, like that sounds terrible. That's the worst possible outcome. Like, why would you want to spend 12-hour days at work just so that you can make a lot of money? Why not learn how to make the same amount of money in 6 hours?
I'm a really big advocate on if you feel stuck or you're unhappy with your situation, then do everything you can to change it.
Yeah. And avoid burnout. Hope you learned a lot from this episode. Like I said, make that 100K. And also, I hope you guys took away from the whole vanity concept that we were talking about, and just understanding why you might know somebody in your life that is that way, and you were always wondering, why do they care so much about themselves? And after hearing my opinion on it, maybe you now have a better understanding of why they are the way that they are, right? It's not like they think they're better than you. That's just the way that they see themselves. And I think it's actually a good thing. I think you should always be confident and happy with the way that you present yourself and the way that you look.
And we're really not comparing ourselves to anyone else other than ourselves. I'm comparing myself to how I looked yesterday and the day before.
Yeah.
I'm not paying attention to what other people look like.
Yeah. I'm worried about myself. If you think people are in the gym staring at you, worrying about you, I promise you they're actually worrying about themselves. We're all like,
but even in
our own world.
In any situation, I'm not judging you.
Yeah.
I'm not judging.
It's not a comparison game to other people. We compare ourselves to ourselves. If anything, we actually compare ourselves to the people we look up to, and it ends up being a lot more disappointing than you think.
Facts.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like I said, this is episode number 10. So yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you can. Try and guess how much money we make. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. And we will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Peace.